People are okay if we want to talk about Jesus being the don't judge guy. Don't be the Jesus who just said love everybody and we're all okay. You're okay. I'm okay. If we don't want to water Jesus down just to be another God amongst many gods, another one way to heaven amongst all the other ways to heaven. If we want to water him down to that, then they're okay with it. But you know what, students? That ain't Jesus. That's not who Jesus is, man. Jesus is the guy who affirmed God's plan for marriage, and he affirmed every single word of the Old Testament. Jesus is the guy who talked more about hell and judgment than he did about love and the kingdom of heaven. Jesus is not what the world wants him to be. He is, God, y'all, he is the bright morning star. He is the rose of Sharon. He's the lily of the valley. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the lion and the Lion of Judah. He is the beginning and the end. And he is the King of kings, y'all, and the Lord of lords, and the God of the universe. And he is the only one who saves. That's what this is all about. And the perfect example that God has given us of the relationship between us and Jesus is the marriage relationship, all right? The Bible opens with a marriage, and it ends with a marriage. The Bible opens up with the marriage of Adam and Eve, and it ends with the marriage of Jesus and his bride, the church. Jesus and us. We are the bride of Christ. And God has ordained marriage as the foundation of civilization. Yes, as the basis of a family unit. But God has ordained marriage and created marriage as an everlasting illustration of our relationship with God. Because the marriage relationship, y'all, the reciprocal marriage relationship between a man and a woman is God's perfect example of our relationship with him. And so many people in our world miss that. So many people in our world think about that following God of any kind is about reaching up and trying to earn his favor. But as children of God, we have a relationship with him. If you've been saved, you've been made right with God forever. Hebrews 10:14, I said it last night, you have been made perfect in your standing before God forever. You are right with God. You're in a right relationship with him. And from here on out, it's a process of growing in that relationship, just like any other relationship in your life. Out of 7 billion people on this planet, students, the only way that any person on this planet gets to go to heaven is through Jesus Christ. Because he said, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And no one gets to the Father but through me. He didn't say I am one way amongst many ways. He didn't say I am a way. He said I am the only way. I'm the only way that people get to heaven. That's who I am. That's who Jesus is. And students, we should never, ever, Romans 1:16, be ashamed of that. And that misconception that Paul discredits here is that misconception that being a good person will get you to heaven. But guess what, students? Being a good person will not get you to heaven. That's what our world believes. That's what our world wants to believe, that if the good things in your life outweigh the bad things in your life, then you go to heaven. But that's not true. If anybody ever told you you can be a good enough person to go to heaven on your own, they lied to you. Because being a good person doesn't save you. Only Jesus can save you. I'm telling you, the only way, he's the only one. I'll tell you what, Allah doesn't save you. Buddha doesn't save you. None of the 250 million gods in Hinduism, none of them can save you. You know why? Because only Jesus saves, period. That's it. That's what he does. Listen to me. The power of the gospel is still the power of the gospel. And it will still melt the darkest, most antagonistic, most atheistic, skeptical, angry heart on the planet. Because that's the power of the gospel. That is who Jesus is. And we should never, ever, 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 ever back down from sharing the truth of who he really is. Ephesians 4:15, but do it in love. That's what God has called us to do. That's what we're supposed to do. When you spend time with someone, you begin to become like that person. And over time, you begin to become like them. That's exactly how your relationship with Jesus is supposed to work, students. Every one of us needs to set aside time every day to be with Jesus, to spend time with him, to rub up against him, to experience him, so we can begin to become like him. Y'all, that's the goal of what this is all about. The goal, the day you get saved, from that point forward, as long as you're alive on this earth, is for you to become, every day of your life, more and more and more and more like Jesus. That is the goal. It's called the process of sanctification, is what the Bible calls it. It's a process of becoming like Jesus. That's what's supposed to happen. Romans 10:9 says this, who if you believe in your heart that as God has raised Jesus from the dead and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you will be saved. Exactly. Romans 10:13 says this, whosoever. That means anybody, y'all. Anybody who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Exactly. 1 Timothy 2:4 says this. It is God's desire that every single person on this planet be saved. You know why? Because Jesus saves, y'all. That's what he does. That's what this is all about. Being a Christian is about getting saved, being saved, and living saved. And then getting more people saved. That's what this is all about. And John